Hey guys, welcome back to Maelstrom Gaming Studios. I'm Craig, and today I am sick. But we must talk about the North Star Open because we all went there. I brought my Tyranids. Connor, Calvin, Matt all joined me for the big GT, and we had a blast. Tyranids did very well, especially my Tyranids. So we're going to talk about it today. Like I said, I am sick. I got my voice. This is the best my voice has sounded since Saturday night, and it is time of recording this Wednesday evening. So I wish I could put this out sooner, but my voice has just been horrible. I've been sick. It's not been great, but you know, the sacrifices we take for doing well at North Star Open. So we're gonna talk about today's list, or my list, how I went through about the tournament, results and everything like that. So if that sounds good, do like and subscribe to stay up to date on all of our content here at Maelstrom Gaming Studios. We cover a lot of Tyranid stuff, like to do battle reports, tactics. I'm going to do some more list analysis in the future. Working on that right now. And yeah, just having a fun time. So with all that, thank you to our members, and let's dive into today's video. All right, I'm really giving it everything to get this video out, so bear with me. So the North Star Open, it was a big GT. We had 66 players participating in this GT. 6 rounds, biggest GT I've done. 6 missions from Pariah Nexus. In terms of the faction breakdown, we had 10 Space Marines, 4 Dark Angels, 3 Grey Knights, a Blood Angel, Black Templar, and Space Wolf. Chaos, lots of chaos at this tournament. 6 generic CSM lists. We had 4 Death Guard, 3 World Eaters, and 4 Chaos Demons lists. Custodies, 6 of them. We had 5 Space Elves, as I'm going to call them, combination of Eldari, Yernari, Dark Eldar, whatever they were. 6 Necrons, 3 Bugs, one of them being me. 6 Imperial Knights, and 1 Chaos Knights. And Imperial Guard, Tau, Orcs, and Votan, 2 of each of those, to get us to a nice, healthy 66 players. Maybe I missed something there, though. Important to note with this event is we had a special rule that was the walls of this terrain were 1 inch thick, mainly because a lot of the terrain used at this event was truly close to 1 inch thick, so there was no fighting through walls, which definitely influenced some of the top playing list, specifically who came first. In terms of my list, I don't think it really changed too much. I still played it all the same way I would have to begin with, so it is what it is. But yeah, so my list, if you guys haven't been following, I've been perfecting this list for a while. I just used it on a battle report you guys saw, and you saw a few iterations of it in the past battle reports. So this is my Assimilation Swarm. This is probably my most favorite list I've created in 10th edition. Probably my favorite list I've created since the early Kraken lists of 9th edition. So I really like this one. It's not an easy one to play, but let's get into it. So we have the Neuro Tyrant. Neuro Tyrant will have Biophagic Flow, very crucial to the way the Assimilation Swarm works, just allowing you to increase the flexibility in the range of your auras. We have a Foot Tyrant with Instinctive Defense. It's important to note that I took a Foot Tyrant with a full melee build, as I have been lately. I just get so much more use out of those Scything Talons than I do a random amount of Venom Cannon shots. And we have Swarmlord. Love Swarmlord. Glad to see him out on the table regularly, at least for me now, so happy he's doing well. Battle Line, 10 Hormigons. You know, you need to use them for things. The rest of it, we have a Biovore, a unit of 3 Pyrovores, 1 singular Pyrovore, a Lictor, 3 Psychophages, 2 Exocrines, 1 Tyrannofex with a Rupture Cannon, and the final piece of it, 2x6 Tyrant Guard, and I was running them all with Scything Talons and Rending Claws technically. So a very chunky list. You'll notice outside of a few units like the Gaunts and the Lictor, and my entire army is like T6 and above. Really, my entire army is T8 and above, so it makes it quite tough for small arms to handle. and that makes it fun to be that kind of durable regenning list. Game recaps, you can breeze through these and get to the conclusion, wrap-ups, talk about my list more, or if you want to listen to them, go ahead. So the first game was against the one and only Chaos Knights player. I really didn't want to play this list, but of course we got it round 1. Nasty 12 War Dog list with some demon buddies. It was the mission A, so they'll hold 1, hold 2, hold 3. Nail biter of an uphill game. Really tried everything I could to pull this one out. It was so tough to score primary because my army, one of the weaknesses, as I'll talk later, is that it is a low OC army. It's big, durable, but it doesn't have a lot of OC. And these knights are well, they're not exact opposite, but they have a lot of OC. So him having 2 knights at least on each objective in no man's land made it so I was not really scoring primary at all, except for when I shadow in the warped. And that was a very crucial turn to even get this game as close as it was a shadow turn. I mean, I killed stuff like crazy. I killed 10 of the 12 knights, and I probably only lost 400 points of models. I think I lost Swarmlord and his brick, and an Exocrine, and then the 10 Hormagaunts, and that's pretty much all I lost at the end of that game. So it was a close one. The big killer for me was that he had a Carnivore on one of the objectives, and Swarmy was in combat with him. Got 5 wound rolls through with Swarmy, and he made all 5 armor saves, which allowed him to deny me a couple secondary, and give him a couple primary and a secondary later on in the end of the game. So unfortunately there, had we just pulled off that, he only needed to make, he needed to fail 3 of them. So reasonable if he failed 3 of those, but he made them all. And sad times, but that was it. A hell of a game, good game to my opponent. MVP was definitely the Foot Tyrant and company. They took down 3 knights on their own, fighting and duking it out. Game 2 was against Death Guard. This one was on a stream. Maybe I'll put the link in the description if you want to check it out. It was a great opponent. Pretty standard Death Guard list, so I played Matt a lot. I knew what I was getting into, so that was an advantage into me. The mission was Scorched Earth. He was running the double Rhino with Plague Marines, and then the Fight First and Grenade characters and stuff. Pretty nasty, scary bricks to deal with in melee. However, I got first turn, and I kind of took this max aggression style to him because of the way he deployed. I was able to pop one of the Rhinos turn 1, keeping his Plague Marines way in the back out of the game for the first like 2 or 3 turns. And the other Rhino, I was able to wrap, not in melee, but just surround with my Hormagaunts up against the board edge in such a way that it kind of kept him trapped here, again, keeping his Plague Marines out of the game until turn 3, really. And because of that, he put, and also on top of that, he had his big block of Death Shroud, was going to rapid ingress, and I screened him out entirely, so he basically had to rapid ingress them into his deployment zone. Again, just stalling the game. He eventually, by turn 3, 4, really 4 and 5, he was racking up points, but I had just taken such a strong lead that it didn't really matter at that point. So really good. Tyrannofex was the MVP. Killed 2 Rhinos, a Brigand, and a Blight Hauler. Almost killed Typhus, but he made both of his 4-pin bone saves. So fun game, and GG's to my opponent there. Game 3, this was probably the best game of the weekend for me. Close to some of the others, but this was definitely the best. Really good opponent, very good player. Nasty list. Haven't played this kind of Ynnari in a while, but I knew it was a list that I was eyeing up the Friday before the tournament, being like, not one I wanted to play. But we did. We got into it, and we took it on. He had a little bit of everything in his list. Some Harlequins with the Yvrain. He had some Eldar Wraith Lords. He had some Dark Eldar Bikes and Mandrakes and Scourges. So many Scourges. 15 of them are it's just an insane amount of shooting for Dark Lances. I think we counted it up after. I think his list had like 18 Dark Lance / Bright Lance weapons. So just a ton of shooting from him. This game, could have been extremely different, but I went for a 12-inch charge right off the bat, and that cracked this game wide open and really just sent it from being more of a slow burner type game to a get in and get stuff done. So what had happened is that I had to bring it down for the turn 1, and I was able to get my Tyrannofex in a position to draw a line of sight to one of his Wraith Lords. And I did 11 of its 12 wounds or something like that. I brought it down to 1 wound. And I thought, okay, you know what? I'm not going to get it. It's unfortunate. I'll save it for next turn. But then I thought, I've got these Hormigons. They are in range. I need a Boxcar's charge. But if they get into melee and I can pop lethal hits on them, I'm pretty confident I can do 1 wound to the Wraith Lord. So I went for it. You know, it's just kind of whatever. If not, no big deal. And I made it. So that sent my Hormigons way out into the open. He had his big Harlequin block with Yvraine, and she had Heroic Intervention and Fight First. So, well, he paid for Heroic Intervention and Fight First, got into my Gaunts, butchered him up, left him in the open, and on his turn, charged Swarmlord, and I did the exact same thing with my Hive Tyrant. Free Heroic, Fight First, butchered a ton of them, and it just cracked this game wide open for me, having that unit done with at the bottom of turn 2, allowing a lot of my stuff to really still be alive, and going from there. So very back and forth. The game was a tie on the end of my, well, the game was about to be a tie going to my turn. I needed to make an 8-inch charge in order to pull off the win. I had behind me lines. I already had the first point with the Spore Mine, or the first 3 points. I could get a 4th point to break the lead to 82. If my Hive Tyrant Guard made an 8-inch charge, that would allow them to go far enough, tagging his support battery. I'd get far enough to get into his full deployment zone and get that 4th point at the end of the game. And we did it. I think I rolled a 9. I had 2 chances to do it with command points, but we did it, killed the battery, and that was it. That was the game. Like I said, hell of a game. GG's to my opponent. One of the best players we've got around in the area, so no easy feat. MVP was definitely the Foot Tyrant and his retinue of dudes. Now, Game 4 is one of these that I knew by Saturday evening after the rounds have concluded. Kind of Saturday night, I knew I was going to likely be playing him going into the next game, so I was able to kind of study the list a little bit, see what I needed to do to go into it, and my God, Game 4 is a terrifying list. Good player as well. The player from Game 1, Game 3, and Game 4 were all from the same team. All of them very good players. So I was worried going into this one. He had Silent King, 3 Doomsday Arcs, 2 Triarch Stalkers, and a whole bunch of other Hypercrypt-based Necrons. The scary thing about Doomsday Arcs is that they are damage 4 with very high AP, meaning they are fantastic at killing Tyrant Guard. I got a little greedy in my deployments. I went first. I tried to kill one of his Triarch Stalkers right away. I had a Tyrannofex and Exocrine lined up in order to kill it, and he made all of his in-bone save. Every single one. Just blocked all the damage. So they did nothing and were kind of stuck out in the open. My guys were a little bit, it was dense terrain, so they weren't, dead, but it was a thing. Then, on his turn, 2 of his Doomsday Arcs could just draw a line of sight to Swarmy and his Tyrant Guard, and they rolled 2 6s on their D6s, so that's D6 +1/+1 for blast. Just an insane amount of shooting. He dropped 5 Tyrant Guard right away. I was very scared because that was a horrible way to start the round. So for turns 2 and 3, Swarmy just hunkered and brought back a couple Tyrant Guard until it was a little bit safe for him to go out. Yeah, they just hit so hard. For me, it was my Hive Tyrant and company, the Fight First Buddy Boy, went toe-to-toe with the Silent King. He did his job. They took out, between my shooting and him fighting, I took out a command barge. I was able to do that to regen an extra Tyrant Guard to help the Hive Tyrant survived a little bit longer, took out the Mineers, did a bunch of damage to Silent King. This was back and forth, multiple rounds of combat. And I got to the point where I had my Hive Tyrant, and he brought the Silent King down to 11 wounds before he was slain, unfortunately. But by that time it happened, Swarmlord is ready with 4 more Tyrant Guard, or 4 Tyrant Guard now, in charge range of the Silent King, and I had a Tyrannofex lined up. Tyrannofex was fantastic. I hit wound, he failed one of his 2 invuln saves, and then he rerolled it, failed again, and I rolled a big 12 damage on the Rupture Cannon to just pop the Silent King. In doing so, allowed me to bring back another Tyrant Guard because my Swarmlord was so close and Harvester units were nearby, of course. Bring back another Tyrant Guard and make a charge onto a Triarch Stalker, which allowed me to easily kill that and then consolidate all the way onto his home objective. So, really close game back and forth, but the Silent King popping allowed me to really crack open the game and stay ahead from there. So, great game. GG's to my opponent. It was a nasty one. Game 5, I got a little bit of a break. Nothing against my opponent, but my opponent, good opponent, he had never played against Tyranids before, and he was playing a fairly similar list to Connor and his Custody, something I play all the time, you guys know. So I had the upper hand going in this game. I knew exactly what his game plan was, how he was going to play it, what he was going to do, what his tricks were. And he, as much as I tried to warn him, you know, he'd ask questions and I was trying to be nice about, he would say, what's more threatening, this or this? And I tried to give him everything I could to let him make the best decisions. But thank you, Connor, for allowing me to practice against you. It made this game really easy. He had a bunch of guards, wardens, Venatari, and a grav tank. It popped off quick. The grav tank got into a position to shoot my Tyrannofex turn 1. Did some good damage to it. I mean, he got all 4 shots wounding. I made 2 saves and then blanked 1, and he rolled a max damage on the shot. So I made what, 1 Feeling of Pain, so I had 9 wounds or something left with my Tyrannofex. However, because he did that, my Tyrannofex was able to stand still, so I got to hit on 2s, wound on 3s. He failed both of his 5-up invuln saves, and kaboom, Grab Tank gone, and that allowed me to feel a lot more comfortable in the game. The Exocrines gave me the upper hand, really. Wardens were scary, but again, the Exocrines were good because he had to choose. Does he pop the Feeling of Pain when the Exocrine shoots him, or does he pop the Feeling of Pain when the Hive Tyrant / Swarmlord charges him? Tough decision for him. He also had Kyria Draxus. I love Kyria, great model. I painted one and sold it, wish I still had it. Psychophages got to work as I charged her unit with 2 of them, and because she gave him the Psychic keyword, those dab wounds got to be nasty and helped me chew through some guards. So yeah, all in all, good game to my opponent. Again, I really did come in with the upper hand. It's just the way it was, but a nice kind of more of a break going after game 4 and into game 6. MVP was definitely the Swarmlord. The CP shenanigans he did were just fantastic. He did die eventually. He typically did die, but he did enough damage and enough stress to my opponent that it was okay, him dying. And finally, we get to game 6. Game 6 was against Chaos Demons, a Monster Mash Chaos Demons, a very, very good player. I played against him 2 weeks ago in a practice RTT for this event, and I played him. We had a nail biter of a game. I think that game was 85-83. He beat me in that one. So it's a good thing I had some practice going into this matchup because it was the exact same list going off against each other. He had, like I said, Monster Mash Demons, Shalaxi, Great Unclean One, Bloodthirster, Be'lakor, and a whole bunch of little demons for doing actions and stuff, and the stupid Changeling. I hate that thing. He did a great job. It was the ritual. He did a great job of pinning me in my backfield or in kind of my quarter right away and allowing him to just keep spawning objectives and really racking in the primary. He had a fantastic lead in the first, 3 to 4 turns of the game. He was well ahead of me, and I didn't think I was going to be able to catch up. But I just kept chugging away at these monsters, He charged Shalaxi into Swarm Lord. The Fight First Hive Tyrant intervened there, fought, did a ton of damage to Shalaxi along with the little guard. Actually was able to bracket her to the point where she did not hit as effectively going into Swarm Lord's unit. Killed a bunch of Tyrant Guards still, don't get me wrong. Butchered a bunch of Tyrant Guard. But Swarm Lord was able to be alive and then finish her off. I had to sacrifice my Tyrannofex to the Bloodthirster. Really, Tyrannofex is good in that matchup, but he's not fantastic. Just because there are things that can kill him so easily, and the 4-up invones that the demons have just makes him ineffective at times. He did go down swinging. He did 7 damage to the Great Unclean One, which is very important, before he was sacrificed to the Bloodthirster just to stall and allow me to hang on. But he did die. The big thing here, everyone in this game pulled their weight. This was like not just one unit coming out and doing work. It was every single unit was pulling their weight, except for my Lictor. Lictor was going to pull its weight and then died to Overwatch from the stupid Changeling. I kind of expected it, but I really also thought I was going to live on, odds are I think I lived on a wound or 2 wounds, but it didn't happen. I died. The Psychophages were one of the real MVPs this list, not only giving me that 6-up Feel No Pain, but I needed at the bottom of turn 4, I needed the Great Unclean One dead, and he was in a position where all 3 Psychophages convened on him, charged him. I rolled them all together because it didn't matter, and I ended up doing 18 dev wound damage to him. He had his 4-up Feel No Pain, but enough damage had been chunked off of him from Hive Tyrant Swarm Lord before that allowed him to go down, and that was the last real thing in his army. Everything else had been dealt with. So on my turn 5, on round 5, he was able to pick up a few more secondary points, a few primary points. Oh God, a few secondary, a few primary points, and then because I had bottom of turn, I was able to just spread out and claim all of the primary and do my secondary. So I was able to pick up a fantastic turn 5, bottom of 5 scoring, allow me to pull way out into the lead into this game and call it a good one there. So that was it. That, if you guys didn't keep track, allowed me to go 5-1, the true submarine fashion where you lose your first game and you chug all the way up to the top. But yeah, absolutely fantastic. It was, I got 3rd place, 3-1 overall. Or, sorry, 3rd place in not battle points, but in the scoring, whatever. 5-1, most battle points, whatever. And I also got 3rd place in painting, which is really cool. So I got 3rd and 3rd, which is great. Really good time for me there. This list, I will say just some things on the list. Like I said at the beginning, I think this is the most powerful list I think I have come up with. And I really do think that no one else has been running this. I know I have someone who follows this channel has told me a couple times that he's taken this list and tweaked it to his own and had great success with it. So props to him for it. But I think this list is an archetype that I have come up with in Assimilation Swarm that I absolutely love, and it is the most powerful thing I have come up with since 9th edition Kraken when that codex dropped. That was a whole nother kind of list because everyone was running Leviathan because Leviathan was so good, but I said, nah, Kraken is where it's at, and I did great with that one too. It's not an easy list to deal with. It is dang powerful going into melee heavy armies. It will struggle going into things like Thousand Suns and Tau who have very good shooting. But, the way the boards are these days, they're pretty dense. It allows you not to just, as long as you're not walking into the open of a firefight or a ranged firefight, you're going to be doing pretty okay. It is not the easiest list to play. This list has massive footprints on all of its units. Psychophages are cheap little monsters, but yet they take up so much space. Everything is on 120 millimeter base or 50 and higher. Besides the Gaunts, you really don't have anything on a small base. So your deployment is extremely crucial because you don't really have the wiggle room. Your monsters aren't fast enough to if you deploy in the wrong spots or move something the wrong way to make up for it, you really got to think a couple turns ahead and get it to work in order for that harvester stuff to really pull off. I love it. Lots of CP manipulation too. You need a lot of strats in this detachment to make it work. Lord of Deceit from the Swarm Lord and 2 CP is great. And also having all these free strats from the Hive Tyrant, 1 every turn, plus the free Heroic Intervention, also fantastic to work for it. There's some games where I go into turn 2 and I've got 5 CP or something like that. So it really works. Again, this does have its weaknesses of the list. It is difficult to play. I said Tau and Thousand Suns could be good matchups into it. I have beat Tau before with this list, or an iteration of this list. Close, but I have done it. Have not played Thousand Suns with it. I think it would be a tough matchup, but who knows. Grey Knights and Knight players also will do well into it. Grey Knights can be just really tough to deal with. I think if your Exocrines and Tyranids effects do all right, then you don't have to worry as much about Grey Knight players. But the Knights can be tough because we don't have a ton of OC, and they have a ton of fairly durable OC, which makes it tough. All in all, Shadow in the Warp does help you with that lack of OC, giving you at least 1 good turn to flip a bunch of objectives in your favor if you need to. And yeah, I really love the list, and I encourage you. I know it's a lot of expensive models to pick up to run it. Luckily for me, I've been collecting Tyranids for 14 years, so I just had these models laying. Actually, it's not true. I had to buy 3 Tyrant Guard for it, but still, I had them laying around, and it was easy peasy for me to put together. Finally, final results here. So for me, 5-1, like I said. 3rd place for the Bugs. I was the highest placing with 1 loss. Technically, 1st place was undefeated. 2nd place was undefeated with a tie in there, and then I was 3-1, the highest placing 3-1. Connor finished 2-4, which was his goal. This was his first GT. He wanted 2 wins. Calvin was the same, his first GT. He wanted 2 wins and got his 2 wins. Matt finished 3-3, best of faction Death Guard. Best in faction Death Guard, so congrats to him. He played pretty well with the list that he had just kind of quickly put together, but still shows Death Guard can play. And then for the overall rankings, Ben Sherwin, if you guys have heard, very good player who was in our area. He played a very, very wonky Chaos Space Marines army, lots of possessed and stuff, and dominated there. Miles played Grey Knights. Congrats to Miles, who went 5-0-1 and got 2nd place. And then me with my Tyranids went 5-1. So that's all we got here. Hopefully you guys could still enjoy this with my voice being the way it is. I really, really enjoyed the North Star Open, and it's not just because I did well, but all of my games were just fantastic games. There were no absolute slaughters, really. I mean, maybe you could say the Death Guard and the Custodians was a little bit of slaughter, but they were all fun games for sure. It was a great atmosphere for an event. It was also part of a Comic-Con style event, so it was cool to see that stuff hanging out there. I'm really looking forward to coming back in the years in the future. So that's all I got. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you, members. I'll see you next time here at Maelstrom Gaming Studios. Might be a week or 2 because I really need to let my voice rest and for me to get better because it sucks right now. So I'll see you guys at some point, and have a great time, or I'll see you next time here at Maelstrom Gaming Studios.